Hello guys, welcome back to another Lumby trading video. In this one we're going to be going over United Airlines, doing some stock analysis, ticker UAL. So where do we see this going? Firstly, just wanted to pop up some trend lines where we may get some movements. We are kind of just building this flag format, so just keep an eye out on it. We could break down, could break up. Don't really trade flags, but I know a lot of people look out for them, so just be keeping an eye out on this. This would signal a bearish flag, so keep that in mind. If you trade flags, again, I don't personally use them, but I don't really like using trend lines, but if people do, that's where they, or at least one is forming right now. So first thing, we always now start off on the daily, so we can start seeing where gap fills are, and can give you some insight into the stock is if most likely if we're going to pull back, and if we're starting to fill recent gaps, because what that does show us, if it's filling gaps more recently, is that momentum slowing down, and we will most likely go over to the other side and start filling other gaps. So if we go over to around end of last year, you can see we did form a large gap down here. For around a $4 gap, which is a 10% gap on UAL. Since then, we did pull back quite quickly and cover most of that gap. However, we have left about $1.10 on the table. This is most likely going to get filled. So a key level to be keeping an eye on. Again, we made another gap here, and you'll start seeing that they weren't filling instantly because momentum was strong. Then you start seeing these are starting to get filled. This one got filled, then also this one got exactly filled before you start seeing a reverse. What this does show us is that momentum is getting weaker, because they are starting to get filled and pulling back down. However, you can see this gap down at $35 to $36 has still not been filled, and does indicate to us that, well, it still needs to be filled, and as these other ones are getting filled, we will most likely get that pressure pulling over more recently, because you'll be able to see gaps over here, they're getting filled a lot quicker now. You'll see back here, obviously, they were taking, well, this one hasn't been filled, this one took a few months to get filled, and again here it took about a month to get filled. Now all these recent gaps, that's getting filled within a week. And so that's one thing you're going to start seeing, and that does show us that momentum is getting weaker because these fills are getting filled so quickly. So here again, it took about 5 days to fill this gap over here. This gap again took about a week, showing us weak momentum, and now we are continuing down to the downside. We have now filled this gap again within about a week. So we're going to re-come into these levels. Not going to be looking out for those anymore because they have been filled, but may still provide bounce areas, so you can keep an eye out on that if you like. The main target we have, at least using gap fills, is more around this 135.40 to around 36.50. So this will be a key area, and we will most likely see that getting filled within the next few weeks or months. Now, going on to standard deviation, where can we see it going off indicators now? And statistical deviations, if you haven't watched my videos before, are very accurate, and if you go back and check any of my analysis videos, you'll see most of the time it plays out. So you can see right now we are under this orange deviation, or golden deviation. This basically means we're under the first deviation, which does indicate that we are oversold, or we are just basically in a discounted area, and it's always kind of considered low risk if you're looking to invest in the stock. So just I always like to mention that we are considered a low risk area to start buying if you're maybe interested in more a investment mindset. Also what's happening is you can see we got this deviation here which we keep consolidating on, but then we also have the one above at around $48, which we now keep bouncing off. So this does indicate to us that we're kind of keeping to the weak momentum because we're not able to break back within the data mean, you can kind of consider it. So yeah, these golden deviations are first deviations. Around 68% of the data is within these golden deviations. So when stock is without obviously outside of it, that can be around 32% of the time. I don't know if that affected the camera, popped up saying low battery. So as you can see before, obviously we did come out of here, came into the second deviation before bouncing back, and that's what one thing we're looking for now is kind of a breakdown further to the second deviations on the longer term time frames, which are around the exact same value at around $40.50. So that's most likely where we will not only see a bounce, but could also be a reversal. So no matter what, I would say 99% of the time we would get a bounce off this level, and it could be quite a heavy bounce back to maybe this $46 level. That could provide a good either day and or swing trade. And even if you're looking to invest, again, a low risk area to start investing in if you're looking to invest. However, I can see us breaking through. Why is that? Firstly, UAL became oversold. When a stock comes out of this first deviation, you kind of consider it oversold. And when you see a stock do that, you usually get heavier pullbacks than usual. Obviously, if they come back, hit off the first deviation where it's still considered a fair value, it pulls back. It doesn't need to pull back heavily because it's not going to an extreme. However, at this second deviation, it's more of an extreme, so the pullbacks are usually heavier. So we'll most likely come back to this second deviation and get that bounce and or reversal. However, if we continue breaking down, which wouldn't be unlikely because then we were becoming close to this gap fill, so that may increase shorts because people will be looking to short into the gap. So that's just a thing to keep an eye out, that we will most likely come in and fill this gap recently. And then where do we see the end moving? It could quite easily end at the bottom of that gap, as you see multiple times. If we go to any of the gaps, you'll see that is usually an indication for the stock to kind of finish its move. So here we come back and then you get that strong move upwards. And again, same kind of thing here, you kind of get that bounce and kind of does its small bounce upwards. So it's something you see as kind of a recurring pattern, that when a stock comes into there, it could end its move. So that's just one thing to keep an eye out. This 35.40 level could be the end of its downwards move. However, quite close below it, you do have the third deviation on the 4 hour, so it may push down that bit further, just to bounce off that level. However, with deviations, you don't always go straight into them for the bounce, so just keep that in mind that personally, it would be a very low risk and a good area to start getting long once that gap is filled at 35.40, and personally, well, I'll probably be taking some trades. However, yeah, if it breaks further down, we obviously got that 34.90 level and even lower down at 32.90. So those are just our kind of key price targets on where we see it going. Haven't done any to the upside because it's unlikely to go to the upside just now. However, if it does, where do we have maybe to lock in profits and or get short? 62, 57 and 63 will be our key levels, and all I'm going to say for right now, because we would have an updated video when UAL comes back into those higher levels. So it's now got a bit cluttered on this chart, but the main things I'd be looking at is bounce off. I'll quickly clear this just to give the kind of key targets I'm looking at. Key targets will be that second deviation at around 40.50 to around 40.30. We will most likely get a strong bounce and or reversal there. Then the last main target I'll be looking at is filling the rest of this gap fill. Again, key targets are most likely a reversal area, and if not, at least a bounce area. And on the very low end, around the 34.90 will be kind of the lowest I personally see going for now. So those are my key targets on UAL. Hope that gives you some insight into the stock, at least how I'm interpreting it. And so hope to see you in the next one, and that's it. Peace.